All right, from that introduction, you now know what I'm going to be talking about. Slide. Slide. So really what I want to talk about is give you my purpose, my specific and general purposes. And go through why I'm giving you those purposes. We'll give you the idea of how to actually watch Star Wars correctly. And with that, the recommendation of how to watch Star Wars. First off, has anyone not seen Star Wars? Yes! For that reason, I can now basically give my briefing without trying to be encrypted in the beginning. Slide. So, hooray, everyone saw Star Wars. Slide. So for everyone who has seen Star Wars, my purpose is this, is to reinvigorate and get you back into watching Star Wars the correct way. More specifically, showing you different methods of watching it, but letting you choose the correct way, but I want to really give you my recommendation. Slide. To clarify, I'm only talking about the first 6 movies, not the mousy ones that are recently being released, Episode 7, Force Awakens, and upcoming Rogue One. Not going to go there. I want to talk about I couldn't find an actual word for sex. There's 6 movies, so sextilogy, I guess is the word they're kind of coming up with. But the original prequels, 1, 2, and 3, and then the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. Slide. There's 3 different methods of really watching Star Wars. This is the method most of us have grown up with because this is the method of their release order. Chronology of when they came out in the theaters. This, unfortunately, is a bad way to watch Star Wars, as most of us may have been turned off by the actual series because of the way they were released. It doesn't give an adequate description of a storyline from start to finish. You basically have the first 3 movies, which is our set of Luke's story and his growth from a farm boy up until release, or up until his ability to defeat the Empire. And then they re-released them as special editions. Who knows why? And then the final one, the final trilogy, the final prequels then were released, which caused a lot of stir, and a lot of people did not like them because they were out of sequence. For this reason, I bring up method 2. This is the opposite. This is really the more chronological order to watch them in, numerical order, if you will. Canonical if you're into the actual way of the Star Wars description of it. But this makes sense to a lot of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It puts you in the story of Anakin Skywalker. This is the way George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, initially intended Star Wars to be watched. Basically, you're starting with a young Anakin Skywalker, learning a little about his life as a young farm boy, moving up into his turn to the dark side in 2 and 3. Really 2, of course, the love story, to go into our theme. 3, then the tragedy of love, of when he falls into the dark side, trying to save the love of his life. Then we go into, since everyone has seen Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6, where Luke and Leia are introduced as the children, and that sets the entire theme, so it is a good way of watching Star Wars. In fact, slide. This is my recommendation for those who have not seen Star Wars. So if you have friends out there that want to watch Star Wars, 1 through 6, it makes sense, it gives them an idea. It does take away some of the dramatic scenes of Star Wars, unfortunately, because the prequels came out, giving away a lot of that suspenseful transition piece. So, disregard this warning because everyone has seen Star Wars. I put an option in here to allow people to walk away if they didn't want to hear anymore. But for all of us that have seen Star Wars, I present, slide, the machete order of Star Wars. Oh. So this has been around for a bit, about 5 years now, introduced by Rod Hilton, the software blogger. And it really, I'll go into more why this is the way to watch Star Wars for all of us that have.
4,
5, 2, 3, 6. And this really brings back that whole story of Luke Skywalker, which is what the original trilogy of 4, 5, and 6 was trying to introduce. Slide. My recommendation of the machete order. Slide. You noticed, episode 1, removed entirely. Thank you. So removing episode 1 is basically, it is a good standalone movie, especially if you have young kids. It introduces some humor, and it isn't really that violent until the very end when Maul gets cut in half. But but it's an independent storyline, very much like Rogue One will be in December when it comes out. It has characters that are there, and there are a few that transition into the next episode, but they don't really blend into the storyline. And in fact, everything that they introduce that could be part of the storyline, such as the ongoing disputes between the Trade Federation and the establishment of the Trade Federation, really, is really something that is reintroduced in episode 2. Also, you get rid of the creepiness of the Anakin Skywalker character, because he was a very young 5 to 6 year old actor in episode 1 and dating a very old Amidala, and it's just kind of weird. So this way you go straight into Anakin being more similar of age. Slide. And this really introduces that suspense that Empire Strikes Back brought in. Empire Strikes Back had the very end of Vader coming in and telling Luke that he is his father. When you can then transition into the prequels and see how did Vader become, or Anakin become Vader, and then Vader become the father of Luke and Leia. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. So this introduces that piece without spoiling that cliffhanger. Slide. Most importantly, slide. Yes! Rid ourselves of the Jar Jar Binks. So, slide. Hopefully I persuaded you to watch Star Wars in a new way, a new light, and with that, big long impossible.